Never stop reading the Bible.
Absolutely essential.
And today, we're doing a deep dive into a specific block, Psalms 86 through 89.
A really interesting set.
So let's start with 86. What is the material highlight about this one?
Well, the first thing that jumps out, according to the sources, is it's the only psalm in Book 3, that's Psalms 73 to 89, that's actually attributed to David.
Oh, interesting. So unique in that section.
Right. And the context seems to be David facing some really proud, violent enemies. It's a very personal cry to God for help, for salvation.
So you can sort of feel his personal struggles coming through prayer, praise, asking for help.
Exactly. The structure kind of lays it out.
Yeah.
Verses 1 to 7, that's the raw desperation, the plea. But then, even in that, verses 8 to 13, there's this shift. It becomes very God-centered, praising God, his uniqueness.
So not just despair. There's faith anchoring it.
Yes. And then 14 to 17 loops back to the immediate problem, asking for rescue from those specific enemies. It really moves between need and faith.
Okay. Then after that very personal plea, Psalm 87 feels like a total change of pace.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We go from the individual struggle to something much broader, more celebratory. It's called a Song of Zion.
Right, praising Jerusalem.
Praising Jerusalem as God's city, yeah. But the material points out it's more than just the physical place. It's seen as prophetic, looking towards the future kingdom of God.
Ah, so like symbolizing the church, maybe?
Often interpreted that way, yes. Symbolizing the church in the New Testament era. It's about the glory of Zion, but with this bigger future hope embedded in it.
And the structure reflects that bigger vision.
It does. Verses 1 and 2 establish Zion's special status. Then the 3 through 6, this is amazing. It talks about all nations being born there listed as citizens.
Wow, like universal inclusion.
Exactly, a global picture. And verse 7 just captures the joy found in that eternal city, a real hopeful, expansive view.
Okay, so from global hope, Psalm 88 takes another sharp turn, doesn't it? Downward.
Sharply downwards, yeah. This one is arguably one of the darkest, most challenging psalms in the whole book.
And it's by Heman the Ezrahite.
Yes, Heman. The sources note he was a Korahite, even a leader in temple worship, which makes his lament feel even heavier, you know?
Right, someone steeped in praise.
Mm-hmm. And the title, Mahaleth Leonoth, it's tricky, but might mean something like sickness or for the afflicted. Fits the mood perfectly.
And the content is just bleak, pure lament.
Relentlessly so. Heman feels near death, abandoned, crying out day and night, asking God to just listen. Verses 1 and 2 are that constant plea.
Okay.
Then 3 to 9, he's describing just how close to death, to Sheol, he feels. But the real kicker, the thing the sources emphasize, is verses 10 to 18.
What happens there?
Nothing positive. Unlike almost every other lament, there's no final turn to hope or praise. It just ends in darkness and perceived silence from God.
Wow. That's intense.
It really is. And the insight maybe is that the Bible makes space for that raw, unresolved cry. For when faith feels like it's hitting a wall, it's unsettling, but honest.
Deeply honest. Okay, so after that depth, Psalm 89, this brings us back to God's promises, but in a context of struggle.
Exactly. It feels like this big wrestling match. On one hand, the current national crisis, the Davidic dynasty, seems to be failing, mocked even. But on the other hand, there's this unshakable promise God made to David, the covenant, an eternal kingdom.
Right, that foundational promise. Is there a specific historical event tied to this?
Many scholars, the material notes, connect it to King Shishak of Egypt invading Judah during Rehoboam's reign. That's in 1 Kings 14, a time when the kingdom really looked vulnerable.
So the psalmist is looking at that mess and saying, God, what about your promise?
Precisely. The psalm praises God's faithfulness, recounts the amazing terms of the covenant with David, rooted in God's love. Verses 137 really build that up.
Okay, laying the groundwork.
But then, verse 38 onwards, it's this raw lament about the current state, how the king is defeated, the covenant seems broken, leading to this urgent plea, God, remember, act.
It's holding on to that past promise while staring present failure right in the face.
That's the tension. How do you trust the guarantee when reality seems to scream otherwise?
Wow. So looking at all four, 86 is the personal cry, 88 the deep, dark lament. Then 87 is this bright vision of God's future city, and 89 is wrestling with history and promise. What a range.
It really shows the breadth of honest faith, doesn't it? All these different ways of relating to God in different circumstances.
Yeah. We've gone through individual cries for help, that unresolved despair, the big picture hope for God's kingdom, and pleading with God based on his own eternal promises when everything looks bleak.
It covers so much ground. Our deep dive today drew on material provided by the Center Studio.